Hey everybody, we're going to talk a little bit about Chapter 5, Learning from the Stranger. It's been a long week for me here at Cornerstone, dealing with moving all 600 of our students out of the residence halls in less than 48 hours with no advance warning. So I'm tired. The fire hopefully will be calming for you in the same way that it is for me. So let's jump into talking about plausible ways of falling short. The chapter starts by talking about the first example of falling short is often pleading purity. The idea that our dedication to our faith is so strong that we can only view it through the lens of culture that we ourselves are kind of native to, right? So I'm an American, born and raised in the United States. The way that I engage my faith is most predominantly through that lens, and yet I can still learn and engage and grow in my faith and worship with people from other cultures, and jumping into those cultures is not inherently dangerous. A good example of this is last year we had Four Fires Ministry on campus here at Cornerstone, and a lot of our students wondered, is what they're practicing on our stage in our chapel, isn't that pagan ritualism? And we were able to engage with them and talk about how the culture that we're seeing is approaching worshiping the same God through their cultural lens, and there's something beautiful for us to be able to learn from that. The second is what the chapter called settling for tourism. And I call this kind of the can you go on a mission trip and leave the camera behind syndrome. Do we stand on the outside and look in more or less to satisfy our own curiosity for another culture, or do we stand on the inside and look out to see the world through a beautiful lens of diversity? And this is one that I've just particularly been challenged by as I think more about how I approach mission trips and the idea of service as a college student, even in my young 20s. Is what we're excited about gaining from this experience, is it something that can easily be accomplished with Photoshop or by Googling something? If it is, then our motivations are wrong. The third one, and I'm going to kind of talk about the fourth one at the same time, is trusting technology and relying on English. I'm going to lean forward to get out of the smoke. Our goal of connecting is not just solved by the presence of FaceTime or Skype. Access does not equal understanding. And I was at the Global Leadership Summit, and they were talking about this leader was talking about how she hosted video conferences with her counterparts in Japan, and the culture there is very different. And so she assumed, well, because I can sit on a video conference call, it'll be like we're all in the same room, we can have our meetings the same way we always have, and we'll get the same amount of productivity out of this. They spoke English. There seemed to be no barriers there. But she would end her meetings with question and answer time, ask if anyone thought any differently than what they had agreed on. No one would really speak up. She went about her day thinking, great, we're on the same page, only to discover later they didn't love that. They didn't like the idea, they didn't agree. And so she perceived it as being passive aggressive, whereas they perceived dissenting in public to an authority figure as being the height of insult. And so having a cultural understanding helped her bridge the gap where technology was easily doing that, but her cultural understanding needed to go with it. It didn't matter how fluent in English everyone was, they needed to be able to understand contextually and culturally the differences. And then finally, we talked about leaving it to the specialists. This work is for all of us. This work is not just for those who work in a career field that's predominantly about diversity. If we believe that diversity is a reflection of the beautiful diversity of God and that He created it, then we're called to celebrate it in every area that we encounter. My daughter is she's 2 years old, she's firmly in that curious stage. She will point at everything and be like, what's that, what's that, what's that? And just the other day, she just said, you're welcome, when I said thank you to her at the end of her meal, because she finally ate her last bite and we could finally wash her up and put her down. She said, you're welcome, and I was shocked because I didn't know she knew that. But apparently my wife explained it to her, that when someone says thank you, you say you're welcome. I think she got it from the song in Moana, because that's on repeat often. But it was fascinating how my daughter's perspective on the world changed when she understood this is something we do. This is an interchange or an exchange that's supposed to happen between people. And her world expands every time she learns something. Within minutes or days, she approaches life differently. And I love that picture for us of as we engage with something different from what we're used to or what we think is normal or healthy or right, can we approach it from that perspective of a child, and how different our approach to life might be if we view it the way that we did as children, where we ask why with an open heart. So that's kind of my prayer at the end of a busy week. It was good just to read this and to reflect on the ways that we might be falling short, sometimes even telling ourselves that we aren't, but we are. So I'm going to get to work on another assignment and enjoy this beautiful evening, and hopefully take a nap. I mean, at this point it's bedtime, but thanks guys. We'll see you later.